All right, Gene Deal. Glad to have you. How's it going?
Cam TV. I guess this is gonna be my last one for the year, huh?
That's it. Your last interview for the year, man. You've been going crazy, man. You've been doing your thing for quite a long time, man.
Yes, sir.
Well, being that this is, our first time working, I just thought we'd kind of, get to know you a little bit better and kind of get to know your story a little bit, man. Can you kind of tell everybody about, where you from, where you grew up, and what it was like for you?
Well, I originally grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, and then I moved to a small little uh, county called Wellston. It had probably like 6,000 people that lived in there. It was right next to the city from the Wellston bus loop. I lived right there at the end of the Wellston bus loop. I grew up in that area, played basketball for, it was Estridge, which is Wellston Halter High School. I led the state of Missouri and rebounded in 1980 and 81. I went on to Jefferson College, was a JUCO All-Star, and then went up and finished at the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, played basketball there up until 86 with Gerald Wilkins, who was New York Knickerbocker. I was a second leading scorer and second leading rebounder at Chattanooga. Then I graduated with a bachelor's in literature. Went on to New York City 3 days after I graduated, but I had always been coming to New York from '82 because I was dating a young lady uh, back then. So I have started going to New York in '82 and eventually made it my home when I graduated from college in '86.
How'd you get into bodyguarding?
I was working as a youth uh, counselor for Manhattan Valley Youth Program, and they needed somebody to bodyguard and drive this group called Sweet Honey in the Rock. It's a gospel group. And I bodyguarded them and drove them to Carnegie Hall, made sure all their stuff was straight. And then from that point on, um, I became doing security and everything for our clique, which was called the Same Gang. The Same Gang was a organization because back then a lot of organizations was coming up in Harlem. You had the Same Gang, Best Out, Mecca Audio, CMB, Cash Money Brothers, 12th Street Posse, Slick and the Family. You had Best Out, you had the All Stars, you had the 40 Wolves. It's just a lot of crews that was coming up. And we started our own crew, and I was doing the security for our own crew. When we was giving parties, functions, and the whole 9 yards. Outside of doing the security, I also was doing the planning of all the events that we were doing.
And at what point do you meet Diddy? And how do you meet Diddy?
Oh, you got to that one real quick, huh? He the one of the guys who is ASAP Ferg's father, uh D Ferg. He had designed the logo for Uptown Records and the logo for Bad Boy. And Puff was giving parties at the Red Zone and at the buildings, and he was having problems at his parties as far as he had to take the money back to Kirk Burroughs, which was on 111th and Fifth Avenue at Kirk's Burrow apartment, and he was just having a lot of problems. I guess somebody was pushing up on him, and then D. Ferg asked Puff to, he said, "Yo, why don't you get Gene to hold you down? Gene will hold you down." So that's when I met him. That was back in probably '89, about '89, '88, somewhere around there.
So this was before Puff blew up, or what was he doing at the time? Like, was he
Uh, he was giving parties at the Red Zone, and he was giving parties at the building. Building, that's when they was doing Unsigned Hype. You know, people like Leaders of the New School, Naughty by Nature, Queen Latifah, different groups was coming. The new groups, they were breaking those artists. You remember that place where they shot Juice at? You know, when they had the DJ contest? Have you
Yep.
seen the movie Juice?
Yep.
Was that Yeah.
Yep.
When they had the DJ contest, that was the building. So Puff was doing the Monday night unsigned hype there. He was also an intern and working over at Uptown Records.
Okay. Or during that time. Okay. And what was Puff like back then?
Like nothing. Quiet as a church mouse. He didn't make any noise around us. The dudes, they had a lot of wild guys in the same gang. And he was just back watching. You know, he didn't make any noise. He was real meek and humble, you know. He wanted to be around us.
At that point in time, did you see like how big Puff was gonna be? Like, did anybody think, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this dude's he's gonna be incredible.
Actually, this guy named Alberto Martinez, who was a known drug dealer in New York City, he knew Puff was giving parties back in DC. And we was on 144th Street and Puff was in a white cabriolet, one of those Volkswagens with the top off. And then Al asked D Ferg, like, yo, what's up with dude right there? You know who that is? He said, D Ferg, like, yeah, that's my man Puff. He said, yeah, I know. He used to give parties in DC. And Al said out his mouth, and I heard Al say he didn't know Puff was gonna blow up like that. But Al told D Ferg right then and there, he said, yo, that nigga he gonna blow up in the city here, giving them parties and everything. So then that's one of the reasons why D Ferg allowed him to be in the same gang, based on what Al was telling us.
What point did you become, more involved with Puff? Was it from
The
the
point when
gate?
I came on, I was at the City College thing when those 9 people died. So I was doing parties for the different crews, which was part of the record industry. It was a guy called Tim Dog. He was an A&R for Uptown Records. And then he went to Island Records, Arista Records. He was the one who was the boss of, he was the manager and founder of uh, the Lost Boys. So I was doing they parties, which was a part of a group called Butt Naked, Tim Dog Entertainment and Butt Naked. So Heavy D had gave his birthday party, and I have a picture where uh, Puff and everybody was there at Heavy D birthday party, and I did the front door because they was having issues at the front door. A lot of front doors was getting bum rushed and everything. So I got my team together, and I used to have my team and 2 dogs, and that would stop a lot of people from bum rushing the doors and everything, trying to get in those events. So uh, Puff was having a basketball game, him and Heavy D at City College. And they asked me to do the security. So I had got 18 guys ready to do the security. And then Puff called me the day of, about 4 hours before, and said, we only need 8 of your guys. We got the Nation of Islam to do the security. And Nation of Islam did the security at the front door. I had the basketball court, and they had a riot at the front door. And if you look in the history, in December of 91, that's when like 9 kids had died at the basketball game that Puff was uh, sponsoring. And that's when he got fired from Uptown Records. When he got fired from Uptown Records, he took Craig Mack and Biggie with him, and the dudes who was a part of Butt Naked Entertainment actually was getting indicted, and they was the one who was financing Bad Boy at the time. And they were getting indicted, and they end up getting 9, 16 to life sentences. And Puff went on taking Bad Boy for himself and getting a bigger deal with Clyde Davis. and he became, you know, Bad Boy Entertainment. I didn't deal with Puff after the City College incident until he had a situation with Suge Knight in Atlanta.
That was your first time being more involved with Puff, or you know what I'm saying?
Well, you
What
know,
time?
like I said, I was doing the building with him. This was way before he became, you know, it was called Daddy's House. So I was dealing with Puff before anybody. You understand what I'm saying?
Right, right,
Before
right,
Wolf,
right. Eh,
all those guys. You got to realize this is back in uh 89, 90, 91, all the way up to City College. Wolf and them wasn't around at that time. Then I left them alone after they had that incident, and then we had an incident with Wolf. Wolf came back and got me and said, yo, he wanted me to be a part of the team. Probably the day after they had that situation with Suge Knight. And then I
Okay.
said, I didn't want to, and I told him I didn't want to deal with Puff. He said, yo, bro, just look out for him. You got your own contract. You ain't got to answer to nobody but him and me.
So Puff brings you on. You're part of the team.
Wolf brought me on. Wolf brought me on.
Wolf brings you on. Okay. Wolf brings you on. You're part of the team now,
Huh?
man. And then Puffy's getting this bad boy thing off the ground. And, you know, what is your feelings about Bad Boy and Puff? And, are you seeing like this is gonna be huge?
But you got to realize I was around Puff only 2 days out the week, or when they had special occasions, or when they went out of town, something like that. Because I worked a full-time job. So I had Puff on Saturdays and Sundays. And if they were at the club and I was off of work, they'll call me, yo, Gene, we at this club, can you make it? Yo, Gene, you like that? Because he had other bodyguards.
What's up? This is Cam Capone. We got more content like this coming soon. So hit that like button, subscribe, and stay locked in to Cam Capone News.